Welcome to this welcome to this session of strategic financial management. Due to the network issue, whatever we discussed regarding the problem in the last session could not be heard. So regarding the problem one, the things which are being given here is that the earnings before income and tax that of the company is rupees 20 lakhs, and that in capital that is 80 lakhs, and the yield value is into 10 each. That would make 40 lakhs. So 40 lakhs represents the book value of the equity. But the question says ask you to find the value of the firm. Now, when the question asks to calculate the value of the firm, here you should always remember that it is the market value of the firm, and also that there is one more which has been mentioned, that is redeemable debentures. Now, redeemable debentures are 25,000 of bond has been issued. Your bond would be having 150 rupees each. So the entire value of the debentures would be up is, it is 37 lakhs 50,000. Now, one thing we should remember is whenever we evaluate the firm, the value of the debentures is going to remain fixed. It is the book value, right? But then when it comes to the equity share, the face value of the shares and the market value of the shares would be different. So how to calculate the value of the firm? We shall see. Now, whenever a problem is given, it is always suggested that you maintain or you solve the problem in terms of solving it in a table, so that one who tries to evaluate your paper can clearly understand the things that you have made. Now, Now, instead of doing like this, it is always better that we do it in the form of, writing it as calculation of, it is better that you, before starting with the problem, we should write calculation or the table showing the calculation of value of the firm under net income outflow. So we have the particulars, and in the amount column, definitely we would be representing in terms of rupees. Now, what has been given? The first thing that the problem speaks of is earning before interest and tax, or the EBIT. Now, the EBIT directly they have given it to be 20 lakhs. Now, whenever they have spoke regarding EBIT, it simply means the earning of the company even before the interest and the tax has been paid. But under net income, of course, what is the first assumption that we have made? That there are no any corporate tax. So it goes without telling that here still there is something to be deducted even before we decide what is the income that would be available for equity shareholder, or what has to be divided in the form of dividend for the equity shareholders. Yet again, you have to remember that one of the general assumptions is that whatever the company earns, the entire amount would be given for the equity shareholders, and that there are no any kind of reserve fund that has been maintained by the company. So once you have EBIT, that we would be deducting interest. Now, what is this interest, or how shall we calculate interest? Is that first we'll have to find out what is the total amount of debt that we have. The total amount of debt is 25,000 of bonds has been given. Now, each of this 25,000 would be of a value of 150. So, it would be 25,000 of bonds. Each of the bonds would be of the face value 150. So, when you multiply these two, you would be getting 7 lakh 3,000. Now, this is the entire value of the debt that has been given by the company. Now, if we observe that, now to find the interest that has to be paid, we'll have to know the interest rate. The interest rate has to be given in the question, telling that it is 14%. It is 14% that you redeem with debentures. So each of the share is written, each 150 rupees share we will have a 14% interest on that. Okay. Now, when you multiply this 37 lakh 15,000 by 14%, the interest would come out till 5 lakh 25,000. Now, so to find out earning before tax, we'll have to deduct the tax amount from earning before interest and tax. And we will get amount of 14,75,000. Now, this is also earning before tax. But according to the assumption, we have assumed that there are no any tax which is considered under net income approach. That's why we are never going to consider tax, and that's when your EBT becomes NI or net income available for equity shareholders. Now, according to the entire 40 lakh 75,000 has to be distributed among the equity shareholders. Now, for us under the question, we'll have to find out value of the firm. For us, what is the total value of the firm? That is what matters. Okay. Here we need not calculate what is the value of each equity share. The value of each equity share would be nothing but the entire amount divided by number of shares. But then, before that, we have to find out what is the market value. Now, if we do not know what is the market value of the equity shares, how are we going to find out how much each equity shareholder is going to get? So, now this market value of the equity, if we try to remember the notation, it had been mentioned as yes. Now, S represents the total market value of the equity, B represents the total market value of the debt, I represents the total interest paid, and V represents the total value of the firm. So, here we have to find out the total of equity, which is represented by A. Now, person, if we see, they have given the market capitalization rate to be 16%. Now, this market capitalization rate is nothing but the cost of equity. Now, the market capitalization rate would be 16 divided by 100, which would be 0.1. Now, this market capitalization rate is nothing but your AE, or cost of equity. Now, here, when you have to find out the total value of equity, you have NI, or net income available for equity shareholders, and you have cost of equity, KE. So, when you divide the total market value of total net income available by the cost of equity, you will find the total value of the equity. So, 14,75,000 divided by 0.16 would be coming up till 92 lakhs 18,007. The market value of equity shares, or in other words, it is the entire value of the equity of the company as of today in the market. That is to tell, if you sell all the equity of your company in the market for the day, for your 4 lakh shares of rupees 10 each, which is a total of 40 lakhs, you would be getting 92 lakh 18,750. Now, this happens because the equity is traded in the market, and with the increase in the value of the firm, the value of equity also increases. And the next thing that we'll have to say is, we have to find out the value of the firm. And under net income approach, it is said that the company is made up of two components. The capital structure is made up of two components. One is debt, one is equity. Now that we have found out the value of the equity, one more thing that we'll have to find out is the value of the debt. Now, speaking regarding debt, the thing is, it is not traded in the market, and the value of the debt is going to remain constant. So, we here have 25,000 bond 150 each. So which is going to remain constant. And that's where the market value is founded. 25,000 of 14% secure redeemable shares multiplied by the face value of each bond, which would be giving us 37,50,000. Now that we know the value of the debt, now that we know the market value of the equity share, we can find out the value of the firm. Value of the firm is represented by V. Now, market value of the debt is represented by B. So, the total value of the firm V is equal to S plus B. That is, we add these two values. So, we will get the total market value of the company to be 1 crore 29 lakh 68,000 and 750. Now, this is the value of the company as of this day. Now, what we should always remember is the value of the debt is going to remain fixed and the value of equity, because it is traded in the market, is going to change. Either it appreciates or it depreciates. Now, the first thing that we had to find out was the value of the firm, and we have found it out to be 1 crore 29,000, 1 crore 29 lakh 68,000 and 750. Now, next thing that we'll have to find out is the cost of capital or the overall cost of capital. The overall cost of capital is represented by K naught. KI represents the cost of debt, or KD represents the cost of debt, and KE represents the cost of equity. The overall cost of the capital would be including the cost of debt also, cost of equity also, which is represented by K naught. Now, regarding the overall cost of capital, we have the formula K naught is equal to EBIT divided by the value of the firm. K naught represents overall cost of capital. EBIT represents earning before interest and tax. V represents the value of the firm. So, if you know the formula, we can have earning before interest and tax, which is given to be 20 lakh. The total value of the firm, which is given to be 1 crore 29 lakh 68,000 This is the formula which we use, and when we divide 20 lakhs by 1 crore 29 lakhs 68,750, what we would be getting is into 100 will always have to do, what we get is 15.42. Now, the cost of capital would be represented in terms of percentage. So, you will have to multiply it with 100 so that you can represent it in form of percentage. So, this is when you know the formula. By chance, if at all you forget the formula, there is one more method wherein which we can find out the overall cost of capital. Now you know the value of the 199 lakh 60,000 100% of the company. And on the other hand, you have EVI, right? Now EVIT is nothing but it represents the overall cost of capital. So if you can find it out by if 1,29,000 60,000 1 crore 29,60,000 and it is 100%. In front of that, what percentage is represented by 20 lakh? It will also give you the exact same amount. Now there is nothing but the explanation of this particular formula. So once after you do this, for every problem, you have to conclusion. Conclusion telling that according to the problem, on the net income approach, the value of the company stands at the amount of rupees so and so, and that the overall cost of capital is 15.42%. And again, after conclusion, you can give a which you tell that according to the assumptions, the corporate tax has not been considered under net income approach. So thereby we conclude the problem. Now this is one of the easiest problems you have. I hope it is clear to you all. If at all it isn't clear, please mention it in your class group so that it can be discussed once again. Now, moving towards the next problem, we just increase the complexity of the problem. Now, under this problem, we shall take three different situations. We shall see how the decisions of the capital structure will change. Now, according to NI approach, what it has said, whenever the debt will increase, the value of the firm will also increase. Now, according to that principle, by taking this particular problem, we shall see if NI approach according to its perception stands true or not. The second problem is that a company named A has expected net operating income to be rupees 50,000. The equity capitalization rate of the company is 12.5%. And they have asked, illustrate the net income approach if the company has rupees 2 lakh 10% debentures. The company raises the amount of the debentures by 1 lakh. The company reduces the amount of debentures by 1 lakh. Now, this is all the information that has been given under the problem. Okay. Now, what has been mentioned in the prompt? We have to understand the question. The question tells that the EBI, first thing it speaks about EBI, or the earning before interest and tax, or it is the net operating income. All this is to rupees 50,000. And they have also spoken regarding the equity capitalization. The equity capitalization rate is nothing but your KE. Now, where is this KEB helpful? The reference, the cost of or the what was equity capitalization rate. The way does this helpful is when we have to find out what is the value of the equity shares. Or when we have EBIT, what we usually do is we deduct the interest and tax, and we have in our hand what would be the net income that would be available for equity shareholders. Now, once after we have that, we would be dividing it with equity capitalization rate so that we know what is the value of equity market value of equity shares of the company. And the problem is such that where they speak of debt, what is that? That is rupees 2 lakh. Now this rupees 2 lakh entirely they have given, they have not mentioned in a split as to how each of the debt is. Or it might be a one debt, it might not be debentures, so that they can give in terms of how much each bond would. So it is the total amount which has been taken by the company, and the total debt that they have taken is rupees 2 lakh. Now they have 2 lakh of debt and debentures. Now it attracts the interest of 10% on the entire amount. That is the first scenario. In the second scenario, what has happened is the debenture has been raised by 1 lakh. That is to tell, under second scenario, the debenture rate would go for an extent of 3 lakh. How it is 3 lakh? 2 lakh. It's 1 lakh would be 3 lakh. And under the third circumstances, they have reduced the amount of debentures by 1. So under third scenario or under situation 3, you will have the rate of debt to, the total amount of debt to be 1 lakh. That is 1 lakh equals 2 lakh, and the company reduces the amount of debentures by 1. So you will be having 1 lakh debt in the situation C or on the third. Now moving with the solution, we will have to always write calculation of the value of the company under net income approach. And we should remember that here within we have 3 scenarios. That is situation A, situation B, and situation C. Now what has been given? Earning before interest and tax has been given. Now what we should remember is earning before interest and tax is similar to all the 3 different situations, and they have directly given it to be 50. Now here they have mentioned the earning before tax is 50,000. So for each of the situation A, situation B, and situation C, or scenario A, scenario B, and scenario C, the EBIT is 50,000. Now, when you have EBIT, to find earning before tax or EBT, we'll have to deduct interest. Now, the rate of interest and the amount of debt that the company has been taken is also mentioned in the question. The amount of debt, or here to be in particular, the amount of debenture that is issued by the company is 2 lakhs. Now, this 2 lakhs of debenture at tax and interest of 10%. Now, when you multiply 2 lakhs with 10%, it will give us the amount of interest. Now, here what should we remember is that for each of the scenario, the amount of the debt is going to change. Under the scenario, the amount of debt is 2 lakh. Under scenario B, the amount of debt would be increased. It would be 2 lakh is 1 lakh. Would be 3 lakh. Under the situation C or scenario 3, the amount of debenture it changes. Here there is a decrease in the amount of debt. That is 2 lakh, which is reduced by 1 lakh. So you will have 1 lakh of debt. Therefore, for the first situation, 2 lakh into 10 per 2 lakh suppose that the tax is given. For the second situation, it is 2 lakh. They have been certified 1 lakh. So altogether 6 lakh. Now 3 lakh into 10% would be 30,000. Or in the third situation, it is 2 lakh minus 1 lakh, which would be giving you 1 lakh into 10% would be 10,000. Here what has been mentioned is increase or decrease in the debt. That is here increase. That's why the total amount of debt becomes 3 lakh, which is multiplied by 10, and you would be getting 30,000. And here the debt has been reduced by 1 lakh. Here the debt has been increased. Here the debt has been decreased. Now 2 lakh minus 1 lakh is 1 lakh. 1 lakh into 10,000 is what I have mentioned. 10,000. So now earning before tax would be 30,000 for company A, 20,000 for company B, and 40,000 for company C. Now, when you see this, what we understand is what is the net income available for equity shareholders. Now, the net income which is available for equity shareholders under scenario A or situation A is 30,000. Under situation B, it is 20,000, and under situation C, it is 40,000. Well, when we see just like this and analyze, what has happened? The net income approach tells that, the value of the company increases. But don't confuse the net income available for equity shareholders with the value of the equity or with the value of the, because net income is the profit what we have. From that, we'll have to find out the value of the equity. Now, how are we going to find out the value of the equity? We have equity capitalization rate, which stands at 12.5%. Now, when you divide the net income available for equity from that of equity capitalization rate, we will be getting the market value of the equity shares for each of the scenario. So for first one, it is NI is 30,000. The equity capitalization rate is 0.125 and the total amount of equity shares would go up till 2,40,000. And see what has happened when the company increases the debt beyond a certain extent. When the company has increased the equity stands at rupees 1,60,000. And when it is 40,000 of net income is available for equity shareholders, the value of the shares stands at 3,20,000. So now that we have the value of equity with us, we have to find the value of the debt for each of the scenarios to find out the overall value of the firm. Now, debt for the first scenario has been directly given to be 2 lakh, and for scenario 2, they have increased the debt. So 2 lakh plus 1 lakh would be 3 lakh, and for situation 3 or for scenario 3, they have reduced the debt. That is 2 lakh minus 1 lakh would be 1 lakh. And so the total value of the firm would go for situation A is 440,000, for situation B 4 lakh 6,000, for situation C 4 lakh 20,000. Now see, by using 2 lakh as debt, the company stands at a value of 4,40,000 in the market. When the debt has increased, the value of the company has also increased for 4,60,000. And with the decrease in the debt, the value of the debt compared to that of this situation has also decreased. And see the cost of capital, it stands at 11.63. Sorry, it is not the optimum capital structure. With the debt of 2 lakh, they have the total cost of capital to be 11.63%, and the increased debt proportion in the capital structure, the overall cost of capital has also decreased, and with the decrease in the debt, the overall cost of capital has increased. Now this is exactly the same thing what is being proposed by net income and first. That is, as and when the debt proportion, increases up until a structure, the overall cost of capital decreases and that the value of the firm increases. Now you can find out K naught by one more formula, that is if at all the EBIT is not being given or the value is not given, you have the rate of debt, it is K or KI has been given to 10%. You have value of the debt, that is 2 lakh for first scenario, 3 lakh for second scenario, and 1 lakh for first scenario. And you will be having the value of the firm also, which you have calculated to be 4 lakh 40,000 for first scenario, 4 lakh 60 for second, and 4 lakh 20 for the third scenario. And when you add it up with the cost of equity, you will get the overall cost of capital. Now, either you use EBIT by V or this formula, the result would be 1 and the 3. Therefore, the conclusion tells that, the use of additional debt has it caused the total value of the firm to increase and the overall cost of capital to decrease, and conversely or vice versa. Now, this is the conclusion which is expected to be given by you. And note regarding the tax you will have to give. Yes. Now there is problem 3, problem 4, and problem 5, which is expected to be solved by you. Okay. Now all these are simple and easy as that of the first two problems that we have discussed, and thereby we can finish up with the net income approach. Now the third problem tells that X company limited is expecting an annual EBIT of rupees 1 lakh. The company has 4 lakh in 10% debentures. The cost of equity is 12.5%. You are required to calculate the total value of the firm. Also state the overall cost of capital if the company decided to raise 1 lakh rupees by issue of 10% debenture and use the proceeds thereof to redeem equity shares. The company decides to redeem debentures of rupees 1 lakh by using equity shares of rupees 1 lakh. And the problem was regarding Mahima Limited has a net operating income of rupees 30 million. Now here the problem is regarding million. You'll have to know how much 1 million is in terms of lakhs. So first try to understand the difference between the million and lakh, and based on that go on adding your zeros to your correcting. And Mahima Limited employs rupees 100 million of the debt capital carrying 10% interest charges. The equity capital rate applicable to Mahima Limited is 15%. What is the market value of the firm under the net income method? Assume that there are no tax. And the last question is, the following information is available for two companies, Box Corporation and Cox Corporation. Net operating income, it is 2100 for both Box Corporation and Cox Corporation. Interest on debt for Box is nil, and for that Cox is 5 lakhs. Cost of equity is 15% each, and cost of debt is 10% each. Calculate the market value of the equity, market value of debt, and market value of the firm for Box Corporation and Cox Corporation. What is the average cost of capital for each of the firms? What happens to the average cost of capital of Box Corporation if it employs rupees 30 million of debt to finance a project that yields an operating income of rupees 4 million? What happens to the average cost of capital of Cox Corporation if it sells rupees 10 million of additional equity to retire 10 million of outstanding debt? Now, in answering the above question, assume that the net income approach applies and that there are no taxes. I hope you can solve this problem. Once after you solve the problem, do send the answers by next class in your WhatsApp group.